Welcome to the deep dive. We go past the headlines, look at the sources, and really get to the heart of what you need to know.
And today we are plunging into, well, a pretty major controversy brewing in the Texas public school system.
Yeah, it's a huge story. We're talking about a state-backed mandate to establish a specific conservative youth group in pretty much every high school. Okay, let's unpack this.
What makes this so critical to look at is just how aggressive the whole initiative is. I mean, this isn't just a simple endorsement from the state.
Right.
We're looking at a partnership announced on December 8th, 2025. And it's between the very top of Texas government, Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and the national group Turning Point USA.
Or TPUSA, as a lot of people know them.
Exactly.
And the goal here is, it's huge. They want to put a chapter of Club America, which is TPUSA's high school group, in every single high school across the state.
So our mission today is to really dig into the specifics of that mandate, the political friction that came before it, and what this all means for schools and for teachers' rights.
This feels like a whole new front in the battle over what's taught and what's allowed in K-12 education.
It really is. It's a shift from fighting over curriculum to actively promoting specific student groups with, the full force of the state behind them.
So let's start at the very beginning. The announcement itself. This wasn't some quiet press release, was it?
Oh, no, not at all. This was a very public, very stylized event. They held it at the governor's mansion. It was designed to be a political spectacle.
And the timing is important here, right?
Yeah.
What was the lead up?
It's crucial. We know the announcement came not long after the Texas Education Commissioner, Mike Morath, had a private meeting.
With who?
With Josh Leifold. He's a senior director for TPUSA. And that meeting back in early November was specifically about this expansion. That's what really set the wheels in motion.
And then came the money.
And then came the money.
Right.
Just a few days after that meeting, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick publicly committed $1 million.
$1 million of his own campaign funds to help make it happen.
Exactly. That kind of financial commitment, it just signals how big of a political priority this is. It takes it beyond just, simple support. It's a massive state-level push.
And for you listening, that $1 million figure, it really tells you this whole thing is not designed to just quietly fade away.
Not at all.
But the part that really shocked people, I think, was the language they used about compliance. Now, officials said, this is student-led. Schools don't have to start the clubs.
Right, but the rhetoric around allowing them was, well, it was anything but passive. It was a direct threat.
A threat to who? School leadership.
To school leadership, absolutely. Governor Abbott said very clearly that he expects meaningful disciplinary action against, and I'm quoting, any stoppage of TPUSA.
So if a student tries to start a club and an administrator, say, slows it down with red tape,
that administrator could face sanctions from the state. He even went further.
How so?
He basically deputized parents and students. He said, and again, this is a direct quote from the sources, any school that stands in the way of a Club America program should be reported immediately to the Texas Education Agency.
The TEA. Why is involving the TA such a big deal? What do they normally handle?
Well, the TEA is the state agency that oversees things like teacher certification and accountability. They investigate really serious stuff, threats, abuse, professional misconduct.
No, student clubs.
Not student clubs. They're not typically involved in a dispute over, like, a chess club. So using the TEA as the enforcer here, it's leveraging the state's maximum authority. It's chilling, really.
And just to give you a sense of the scale here, TPUSA already says it has over 500 chapters in Texas high schools.
Right, and their national goal is 20,000 chapters.
Yeah.
This Texas partnership is meant to be the rocket fuel to get them there.
It seems like we can't really analyze this mandate without understanding who TPUSA actually is, especially given some of their history.
No, you can't. The context is everything.
So let's get into it. Turning Point USA. It was founded by Charlie Kirk, who, many conservatives saw as a real champion for young people, for free speech and conservative values.
Right. They were historically focused on college campuses, but lately they've been pushing really hard into the high school space.
And Kirk himself was a deeply polarizing figure. He was often criticized for making comments that many people found, hateful toward various groups.
Definitely. He was an activist who really seemed to enjoy confrontation.
And this is where the timeline gets so important. Charlie Kirk was killed in early September. He was speaking at a college campus in Utah.
And that event, his death, it triggered this immediate, very intense reaction from Texas leadership that, directly set the stage for this club mandate.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
It is, because the state's reaction to his death and this push for Club America are completely intertwined. After he passed, Governor Abbott and Commissioner Morath, they sort of seized the moment. They started accusing some Texas teachers of mocking Kirk online or even promoting violence. And it wasn't just talk.
They started an investigation.
They started investigating hundreds of complaints that were sent to the TEA about these teachers in their social media posts.
Which again brings up the TEA being used in this really unusual way.
Exactly. It immediately raised huge questions about teachers' First Amendment rights. The TEA is supposed to investigate professional conduct, not police political opinions on social media. It created this massive tension just weeks before they announced they were funding the organization Kirk founded.
And this wasn't TPUSA's first run-in with educators, right? They're known for that professor watch list.
Yes, the watch list. It's basically a website, a database where you can look up academics that they see as being too liberal.
And the sources say this has led to harassment.
In some cases, yes, reports of online harassment, even threats against faculty who end up on that list.
So let's put this all together. You have an organization with a history of targeting educators it disagrees with. And then weeks later, it's being mandated into high schools by the same state officials who just used the state education agency against teachers who criticized its founder.
It creates an incredibly hostile environment for any school administrator who might have reservations. It's a mandate delivered in a climate of intimidation.
All of this is happening despite the club's official mission statement, which on paper sounds pretty standard.
Right. Officially, Club America is there to build strong networks, help students register to vote, and inspire meaningful conversations.
Very civic-minded goals.
On paper, yes. But critics, especially teacher groups, they look at the broader history and they see it as just too divisive for a high school setting.
Which brings us to the bigger legal and constitutional debate.
Yeah, and this has implications that go way beyond Texas.
Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't happening in a vacuum. We've seen similar moves in other states.
We have. Republican officials in Oklahoma and Florida have announced similar partnerships with TPUSA.
But the Texas version is different.
The sources suggest it is. It's because of that aggressive enforcement language. In other states, it's more about supporting students who want to start a club. In Texas, there's this disciplinary hammer hanging over any administrator who gets in the way.
Although Oklahoma's former superintendent, Ryan Walters, he also had some tough talk. He threatened to go after the accreditation of schools that didn't welcome the group.
That's true. So that rhetoric of enforcement, it's definitely part of the playbook. But Texas seems to be taking it a step further with the formal TEA involvement.
And all of this is happening after years of accusations from Republican officials that schools are, indoctrinating students.
Absolutely. And Texas has been ground zero for a lot of this. We've seen the recent laws about posting the 10 Commandments, which is being challenged in court.
And the laws restricting how teachers can talk about history, slavery, and racism.
Right. And all that context is what makes Governor Abbott's comments so, let's say, slippery. He tried to frame TPUSA as being non-political.
How did he do that?
He compared Club America to groups like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He said it was just about promoting values and constitutional principles.
Wait, comparing a group known for political activism and watch lists to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes? That feels like a real stretch.
It's a way to rebrand it, to claim he's promoting neutral values instead of admitting he's promoting a specific political ideology. But the activities are fundamentally political.
And the sources point out this huge contradiction in how the state treats different student clubs.
This is the absolute core of the legal problem. Earlier this year, Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 12.
What did that do?
It was a sweeping law that explicitly banned student clubs with an LGBTQ+ focus. So at the same time, the state is banning one type of identity-focused club.
It's threatening disciplinary action to make sure another politically conservative club gets a foothold everywhere.
Exactly. It doesn't look like equal access. It looks a lot like viewpoint discrimination, which is a major First Amendment red flag.
And that's the legal gray area that experts are pointing to.
That's precisely it. The Federal Equal Access Act says schools have to treat all non-curricular student groups equally. But by using state money and state disciplinary bodies to force one group in while actively banning another, Texas seems to be walking right up to that line, if not crossing it.
And opposition groups are definitely highlighting that contradiction.
Oh, for sure. Petitions are popping up to remove chapters, citing what they call racist, homophobic, and sexist hate speech.
The Southern Poverty Law Center has also weighed in.
They have. They describe TPUSA's strategy as trying to sow fear that, quote, white Christian supremacy is under attack, which helps explain why groups like the Texas American Federation of Teachers are so worried.
Their president, Zeph Capo, basically said these kinds of divisive groups might belong on a college campus, but not in high schools with more impressionable students.
And ultimately, what the sources tell us is that this Texas initiative, with $1 million price tag and the threat of TEA action, it's taking this constitutional question to a whole new level. It's become a legal test case.
So what does this all mean? When you try to grasp this huge shift happening in Texas schools, what's the bottom line?
I think it means we're watching a clash between three big forces. You've got the state's political machine, backed by money and threats.
Right?
Then you have the controversial history of the organization itself. And third, you've got these fundamental principles of school neutrality and First Amendment rights.
So the dynamic to watch is that tension, state mandates versus local school control, and which student groups get to exist and which ones get shut down.
And that leads to one final thought for you to consider as this all plays out.
What's that?
Well, if the state is willing to commit money and disciplinary threats to support this one specific politically charged club, what precedent does that set?
There are all the other clubs.
For all the other clubs, if Texas can ban LGBTQ+ clubs with one law, what stops them from using this new enforcement power to restrict or ban any club that doesn't align with the values being promoted by the state's leadership? Yeah. That question is really going to define student life in Texas high schools for years to come.